Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are, wherever you're joining us from. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for coming along to this Verse update. My name's Tim Clark, and in the next 40 minutes, we're going to go through what's up to date in Verse on premises. And we have behind the scenes here, we have my co-product manager, Annalyn Policarpio, who's looking after the mobile side of things these days, and she'll be happy to answer your questions. We're also joined by a couple of the development team leads, and they'll be there answering your questions in the questions panel, which leads me on to questions and chat. So you will see two panels in your GoToMeeting space. One will be for questions, one will be for chat. You can chat with anyone you like. I've already put a couple of things up there to remind you that we will be recording the session, and we will be asking you to ask questions in the questions panel, where our team are there to help answer those questions. So please use the questions panel, and we will get on with the rest of the webinar now we've done the housekeeping. Right then, so I'm Tim Clark. I'm the product manager for HCL Verse on-premise, and I oversee with Annalyn the Verse the Verse mobile stuff, but Annalyn does a great job of looking after the day-to-day. We will be showing you a couple of bits today that could be future looking, and if they are, then it's possible that we will change our mind or find a technical reason to change our mind. So please be warned. But for those of you that don't know, that you're sat there going, oh, what is this Verse thing anyway? We sum it up like this. Verse is a very secure, lightweight, so it's not supposed to be the heaviest email system in the world. It's supposed to be lightweight and efficient. And basically, it's available in your browsers or in your mobile devices. And it's secure. I mean, we've talked about that already. It's secure and lightweight, and it's based on Domino. So, of course it's secure because Domino's been around for 30 plus years. Domino's really, really secure. It's got encryption everywhere. It's got connections to other systems like DKIM and SPF and all that kind of good stuff that you can do. And you can do things like ICAP scanning of your mails that are coming in and out to check for viruses and everything. So because Verse sits on top of Domino, that makes Verse really, really secure. But I wanted to call out just a few extra bits today. I wanted to call out the fact that we have this resilient architecture that allows you to understand where your data is and who owns it, right? So we're hearing a lot of people these days ask us about data sovereignty. And what that really means is like, who has the ownership of your data, and especially your mail data. Now, if you're using a cloud provider for your email, that means that your data is in the cloud somewhere, right? You will never know probably where it is. You might have some contract or agreement with that provider that means that you have an idea where it is, but you'll never really know. However, if you decide to run your own servers in your own data center, you know exactly where your data is and how it's protected, whether it's in transit, whether it's at rest, whether it's in use. You will absolutely know what's going on with your data and your mail systems. So it's really important for us to be able to assure you that if you want data sovereignty and control over your data, we can give that to you. We are almost uniquely placed in the market to be able to give you that security and that trust in your mail system. We also allow you to use multiple operating systems. You can use a variety of them in your own environment, if you like. So everything from an IBM I, which would be akin to an AS400 as you might know it, all the way down to a Windows machine or a Linux machine, or I'm actually running it in a VMware on my MacBook, right? So I'm running a Windows VM with a Domino server running in it and Verse in there, and I've also got Nomad and Domino Leap and a few other bits and bobs that Domino uses. So it's everything from small businesses to global enterprises that span the world can have their own secure mail environment, your own secure mail environment. It's really important to understand that it's yours. It's not owned by somebody else, unless you want it to be. If you want to have it hosted by somebody else, that's absolutely fine. You can do that. That's not a problem. but it does allow you things that you can tune to your way of working. Business continuity is something that came up recently in a discussion with a customer. It's like, how do I make sure that if something goes on somewhere in my business, I've still got access to my email? Well, there's no single point of failure if you design a system that thinks about business continuity. And the fact that you can have your mail downloaded to your phone, or you can have it offline in your browser on your laptop, means that you've still got access to your mail. You might not be able to send mail at the minute because your server might have, been hit by, I don't know, a power cut or something, and there's no emergency power supply, or that's gone out, or whatever, or it's been 7 hours and the fuel's run out in the generator. You pick your disaster scenario. That's absolutely fine. However, because you can cluster these things around the world, you can have data centers wherever you want, and therefore you can mitigate that risk and hopefully come up with a solution, technical solution, that allows you to have your mail available to you 24/7, 365 days a year, 100 years in the future, right? So there's no stopping us when it comes to continuity of mail provision for you. And as we've said already, it's available anywhere, right? You can have it in a browser, and you can have that as a PWA if you want, or you can have it on your iOS device of choice, whether that's an iPad or an iPhone, or you can even have it on any one of the hundreds of Android devices, whether that's a tablet or a phone device. And dependent on the size and the form factor of that device, there's a solution that will be tailored to that form factor so that you get the very best experience. So it's secure. We can give you data sovereignty. We can give you resilience. We can give you scalable options, and we can make sure that you can use it on a device or browser of your choosing. So it all sounds really good so far, doesn't it? And I said it was lightweight at the beginning. I said it was lightweight experience, mail experience. Well, it does everything you would expect mail to do, but we keep on improving Verse day in, day out. And the two guys from development teams, they will tell you that their teams are flat out, even today while they're listening to me talk about the product, their teams are flat out working on features and enhancements for you, our customers, to make that experience better. I want to take just a couple of minutes to look back at what we did last year, because I think what we did last year in Verse on-premise is absolutely fantastic. So let's take a look at what we managed to get achieved in Verse 3.1. We did all of this stuff, all of these 8 items. And I remember doing a webinar where I clicked through each of these and we had a video demo for each of them. So you can see in Verse 3.1, we did templates and console commands and mail recall and file preview. All that good stuff was there. And in 3.2, we had we had a bit of a slowdown in the amount of features that you guys see, but behind the scenes, the architecture is being upgraded and enhanced and taking account of other things that are going on in the environment. So you'll remember that Domino 14 came out last year with massive upgrades to Java and the Eclipse backend, and the infrastructure of Domino started to change. So we had to do some stuff in Verse to make sure that we were okay with those changes. So we still managed to get out a new language version for Azerbaijani. We allowed you to send private mails now. And what that means is that when you send a mail, you can click the keep private, and it means that somebody can't forward that on, or they can't copy the content, or they can't print it. So it actually keeps the content of that mail private inside Verse. So inside your company, that's all good. Sadly, not all mail systems that you might send to respect those flags, but we do. And then we upgraded to the Tiny MCE editor, which is a good enhancement because it gives us more flexibility moving forwards and keeps us up to date with all the security enhancements that are therefore being brought in with the third-party pieces that we put into the product. And then pin the folder panel. This I have to stick my hands up and say that this is one that I asked the dev team for based on feedback we'd had from customers. People were getting frustrated with the fact that you put something into a folder and then as soon as you move off the folder panel, it would just slide back away. And that's brilliant if you'd like a clean desktop. Me, I like to have that available to me all the time. So we came up with a really good solution, I think, in that you can pin the folder panel. In fact, what it does is you don't pin it at all. It just remembers what you've done. So you slide it out, and then if you've finished with it, you slide it back. And if you reload Verse or come back to it, then it will remember what you had it as last time and just bring that back. And then we're going to talk about this in a minute, but we've been working quite hard across all of our product set about accessibility. And you might be thinking, oh, why is that important, Tim? Well, in the European Union next year, in the middle of the year, in 2025, there's going to be a law that comes into effect, a bit like they did with GDPR. They've announced that this law is coming into effect, so everybody knows what it is, and then it comes into effect and everybody has to abide by it. So they've done the same with accessibility and software. There's now a law that's come in Europe that says by the middle of next year, all of the software that you use has to be accessible if you're in certain classes of organizations. Now, we sell software to those classes of organizations, and they're asking us quite rightly to have our software be 100% accessible, and we're going to achieve that. So we're working really hard across lots of different focus areas in lots of different products to make sure that we can meet those standards that are set in the European Union. Now, it's just not the European Union that's going to benefit from this. It's going to be everyone, because everyone can then have accessibility built into the product, and it will make it better for anyone across the planet, not just the Europeans. So we're all going to get the benefits of this hard work that the dev teams are doing right now. And it's good, it's goodness, right? We are starting to work on things like keyboard shortcuts and zoom in and out and screen readers and high color contrast and all sorts of color matches and stuff like that. So we're making sure that we're taking in the whole gambit of what you have to do to be accessible in Verse. And we're making sure that step by step, as we get towards next year, the releases that we put out have accessibility built in more and more and more as we get through. So let's take a look at what we've just released. So we've just released a version called 3.2.1. And for any of you who have been around for a while will know that I presented at Engage last year a roadmap that said that we would have this thing called DOMI, Domino Online Meeting Integration, built into Verse last year. And you know, the dev team and I worked really hard to make sure that we could meet that challenge. And what we ended up doing is, because we wanted to make sure that A, it worked, and B, that you got the quality of products that we want you to have, we took the tough decision to make sure that that was good quality stuff, and therefore it would have to come out in March this year. So we put it into the 3.2.1 release, and I'm not sorry at all that we did that. I think that was absolutely the right decision, and I think what you've got out of that hard work and effort from the dev team is a really good solid implementation of the Domino Online Meeting Integration. That now allows you, and I use it all the time, it allows you to have same time go to Microsoft Teams, WebEx or Zoom meetings baked in without any effort from the user, baked into your meetings that you can send. So if you're usually using same time, brilliant. What you can do is you can set up the users with a key into their Verse account that allows them to send or schedule same time meetings really, really easily. So it will take the name of the meeting and use that as the name of the actual same time meeting. So whatever you've got here, we've got team meeting in this particular example. And if I were to click on, let's say for instance, Zoom on this instance over here on the right, you would see that if we were over here, if I clicked on Zoom, you'd see that when I send this email out, it's made a connection out to Zoom. It's booked a meeting with Zoom. It's got all of the meeting links and information back, and it's put them into the meeting itself and then sent that out to all of the attendees. Now, that's all great, but what happens if I have to change that meeting? Now, normally what would happen is you'd have to go and cancel that meeting at Zoom, you'd have to go and book another one, get a new URL, put it into the meeting, and then send all of that out again. Not with Domino Online Meeting Integration, no sir. What you do is you go and change your meeting in Verse, and it does all the legwork for you. It goes off, it changes all of the stuff at Zoom, gets back your new URL, puts it into your meeting and sends out the update with the updated meeting URL, so that all you have to do is change your meeting to a time that you've decided to move it to. And it works with repeating meetings, and it's all good. That's why we've taken our time to make sure that you get the best experience by making sure that this stuff all works, because it would be, you know, great if that worked in Notes, but if it didn't work the same way in Verse, then, you know, you'd call us out on it quite rightly. So we wanted to make sure that it was all good. That's a really big feature. It's taken us a really long time, and I'm super proud of the dev team for sticking to it and committing to that feature and making sure that we got it out and it was right. The other thing that we've been talking about is upgrading our contacts experience. Contacts you've had in things like Notes and iNotes for ages, and we want to bring Verse to bear upon, you know, as a new experience in the web space. So we actually want the Verse contacts to be useful. And one of the things that we were shown by customers that they needed was groups. So we've been working on getting the groups interface up and running. And I'm, you know, again, very proud and pleased that we can do create, read, update, and delete of personal groups in your Verse experience now. And that's fantastic. So if you've got personal groups in your mail file already, they should show through. If you've got personal contacts in your mail file already, they should already show through inside your Verse experience. So now you're going to be able to address your own personal groups that you decide to create inside your Verse experience. And we've added a couple of pieces to this really unseen, unsung hero of every piece of software that you've ever had, right? The Help About screen. So somebody mentioned to us that it would be really useful if they had knowledge of which particular server you've connected to. And as you can see here, I think I'm connected to Verse Test. I think it's Verse Test Server 07. And at the time that I opened up this screen, that's the server I was connected to. And you're thinking, why is that important? It's like, well, what's the big deal? Well, if you're in a clustered environment and there's something a bit odd going on with your mail experience, if you talk to your support team, they're going to want to know which server you're on, and they have no way of knowing. You have no way of knowing in a clustered environment because you connect to, you know, mail.companyname.com. And it then puts you load balanced or whatever, or availability wise or disaster recovery wise, puts you on a server that's available, and you have no way of seeing which one it is. So we decided to stick it out of the way because for a lot of the Nomad experiences, for a lot of the Notes application experiences you will have seen, they would have been on screen as part of the interface. So we decided to stick this in an out of the way place, because you don't need to see this all the time in your mail. You might need it every now and again in the about screen. So that's what we did. And somebody else also asked us to show the user email address that you're logged in as, or yes, the email address of the logged in user, because you might be doing delegation and stuff and want to work out where you are and where you're at. So this is really important for some people, so we've added that too. Now we've managed to do a couple of other small updates along with that in 3.2.1. So we've allowed the meeting chair now to confirm a meeting out to their recipients, or out to the attendees, I should say. So you can see here that I've got these required, you know, Bryson and Dan and Lucia are going to come to my team meeting. Now I can send out a confirmation mail to them just like you could do in Notes. We've also, somebody from the Catalan region, which is a region of Spain, for those of you who don't know, has sort of highlighted to us that it would be really nice to have the documentation in Catalan, seeing as the product's available in Catalan. And we're like, actually, that's a really good idea. So we've updated the documentation to be available in Catalan language. And then somebody else on the translation side of things, somebody else has pointed out to us that the type head string that we have for in German wasn't particularly understandable in the German area. So we've taken, a look at that, and we've come up with, on their advice, we've come up with a better string to use so they would understand it better. And as you can see here, we're continuing to do accessibility work in 3.2.1. We're hoping that you don't instantly notice the accessibility work, which is why we're not calling out what we're doing in each release. We're hoping that the people that need it will see it, and it will work for them. You will see those in our fix lists. You will see the fixes that we're doing. We not sure, I'll have to check with the dev guys, but I'm not sure if we're actually calling those out as being accessibility or not inside the fix lists. I'm not sure we are, but if you know what you're looking for, you will find them. Now, Verse is great. Verse is fantastic, but it wouldn't be a product that sits on top of Domino if it didn't have some of that, Domino DNA in it, really. And one of the things that makes Domino and Notes so unique is its extensibility. So, Verse does play nice with others. It does, allow you to integrate solutions into your mail experience. So if there's something that we don't do, and there's something that somebody else does do, it's not impossible for them to integrate into Verse and use Verse or extend your Verse experience with their solution. And that's exactly what the folks at ISW have done. And I want to thank Wannes Rams for coming up really fast today with this screenshot for me at short notice, because I want to call out that they do this fantastic Kanban boards solution called Huddo boards, and it allows you to manage your tasks and assign stuff across teams. Now, normally what would happen is you would get sent an email. And as you can see here, if we look, I wonder if I can get my mouse to be in the right place. Here we go. Oh, there you go. It's moving quite quick. So you can click on these three dots here, and you could add send to contacts, print, schedule a meeting based on this email that you've got, or you could save it as a card. And that's a Huddo boards integration direct into Verse, where you're able to take that email and turn it into a task that you can add to your Kanban board. You can assign it to others. But this also works the other way around. You can also take a task and then send an email based on it. So you can, from inside your Huddo board, you can click on a card, if you like, or a task, or I don't know, I think they call them cards, and then click on that and then allow it to send an email based on that card. So you can then send to the people in the card or others and show people what you're up to and what you're working on. So it's a really good solution that's a good tight integration into Verse. Now, this next integration you probably will have seen me talk about already if you've seen me talk at all about Verse and Domino in the past, and that's On Time from Intravision. They have this fantastic group calendaring suite, and today I've included a Japanese version of the group calendar that you can see is, I think it's an older version, but it's all in Japanese, and that's just to prove that this isn't just an English solution. These guys have various language solutions for people around the planet. Japanese is one of their better markets that they have a lot of customers in, because the Japanese really like to understand what people are doing in groups, and a really good group calendar view. So On Time integrates tightly into Verse and your Domino and Notes and Verse calendars, and allows you to have this look across the entire team as to who's doing what and where they're at. I suggest you go take a look. I've included the URLs on all these solutions with a QR code in case you want to go take a look. And the last one that I wanted to highlight today is from Gedis Intraware, their CRM solution. They have this fantastic solution that's based on Domino, and it allows you very tight integration into Verse. So you could be in the middle of a mail that's come in from a customer, and then you can click on a button inside of Verse, like you would have seen in the Huddo boards integration. Click on the three dots, go down, and you'll see a Gedis Intraware CRM button. When you click on that, it brings up this panel that shows you how many times you've contacted that customer, what campaigns you've done with that customer, what they've emailed in. Do you want to copy this email back into your CRM system? It's really, really comprehensive. They've got a fantastic CRM solution, all based on Domino, and that makes their integration with Verse, absolutely seamless. It's really, really impressive. I suggest if you're in the market for a CRM, you go take a look because it's very, very good and comprehensive, but it also works brilliantly inside Verse. So well done to all three of those partners for integrating with Verse. We really appreciate the effort you put into that. And we're really pleased to be able to show that, that you've done that work today. So how do you get information on Verse if you want it? Well, short of telling you where to go and download it, which is coming up next, there is a plethora of information out there for you. So Verse documentation is available from our help support website, and you can find the 3.2.1 documentation underneath. If you look at that URL, you'll see it's underneath the 3.2 index because we're adding in the 3.1 because it's a point release. There's a Verse community forum, so if you want to take part in a group discussion with others without having to raise support tickets, or find out what other people are doing, see what other integrations people are using, then there's this community forum you can go and take a look at. It's hosted by our support teams, and our support teams actually go in there and look at what people are doing and help people out if they can. So it's a good place to go and talk about Verse. Now, if you've got an idea that you think we should do in Verse, then there's only one way of making it happen, and that's to tell us. Right? If you don't tell us that's what you want, it won't ever happen. So recently, a very good friend of mine, Roberto Boccadoro, put in a request, and actually you've seen that request today. It was the one about showing the server name in the help about dialog. And he put an idea into our ideas portal. We saw that. We saw that that was a good idea. We spoke to development about it from product management and said, hey, we think this is a good idea. Development went, yeah, that shouldn't be too hard. Went off, did some work, came back, it gets into a release. And then I was very happy to be able to go back and tell Roberto, hey, we've shipped that and it's in this release. And Roberto was, really happy about that. We managed to get that one done in short order. So it does work. You can put stuff in and get stuff out the other end. So, the sausage machine of idea through to feature, through to development, through to release does actually work. And then last but not least, there is, I'm just going to move something on my screen so I can see this properly, the product information on our marketing website. If you want to find out the higher level stuff, then you can find out all of the good stuff that we've got about Verse from our product website. Now, how do you get hold of this fantastic mail system for your Domino server? Well, you can download it if you've got a valid subscription. So you can go to either FlexNet, which is the QR code there on the left, or you can go and get it from the MyHCL software portal. I'd recommend you go and try out the MyHCL software portal because I think it's an easier experience, in my opinion. I think it's a bit slicker, it's graphically a lot nicer, and it will allow you quick access through to Verse. Now, with that being said, I also want to highlight the fact that if anybody has already downloaded Verse 3.2.1 in the past couple of weeks since we released it, then I'd urge you to go back and re-download it because we released yesterday an interim fix that fixes 3 particular issues that we really want you not to have, right? So we want those issues to disappear for you, and we want you to have the best experience. So I urge you to go and download this interim fix 1. It's currently available on FlexNet, and I believe it's being updated on the MyHCL software portal tonight. So well, yeah, if you go do it tomorrow, it'll be fine. So you can find out more information on those 3 fixes at this knowledge base article that's linked in the QR code. But we want you to have the best experience, which is why we put out these interim fixes as fast as we can if we see an issue. And we've seen 3, so we've pushed all those through. So thanks for the dev team for getting that done and out the door, and all the security teams for rushing through the security checks and code scans and everything else that went on. It's, the amount of email that gets generated by these things is amazing. Oh, and I look at it all in Verse. So I'm going to call out to my team and ask them if there's any questions that we should answer, because I've not actually looked at any of the questions yet. So, Annalyn, are you there?
Yes, I'm here, Tim. Hi, everyone.
Hey, thanks for
All right.
joining us, Annalyn. What have we
Yeah,
got?
there are a few questions over the chat. One of them is whether there are plans to preview the PDF files or the PDF attachments
Oh,
in
wow.
Verse.
Yeah, so that's probably come off of the 3.2 feature. Oh, so it's 3.1 feature, wasn't it? That allows you to use the Domino preview capability to preview Office documents. So that allows you to look at Word and PowerPoint and Excel without you having to download it. However, if you look at a text file or a PDF file currently, what happens is it downloads it for you. And we're like, okay, that experience could be better, right? So yes, we're looking at text files, and I know that the dev team are currently working really hard on making text files work because that's easy. However, the PDF piece is going to be a bit more involved than that. So what we need to do is we need to take the technology that we're using inside the Notes client to be able to do that and put that onto the Domino server. And that's going to take the team a while, and that will rely on a Domino server release being available with that upgraded capability. So I was having a discussion about this yesterday, and yes, we are planning on putting that out in the next Domino release so that us over in the Verse world can take advantage of that. So yes, we are working on it. We are absolutely trying to make that happen. We just need to put a few building blocks in place before we can actually build that castle, as it were.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Tim. And then there's another one. I think this specific question is pertaining to the Domi feature, and the question is whether it works in the Notes client as well or just the Verse client on the web.
So it does work in Notes. It absolutely works in Notes. And in fact, they've got an enhancement that they've done recently that we're going to try and steal and use in Verse about setting it up. So keep your eyes peeled for that. We're not finished with Domi. We're going to keep upgrading it as we can. But yes, it does work in Notes. I believe you have to, your admin has to enable it. But yes, it does work in Notes and it works in Verse.
All right, fabulous. And then there's another one pertaining to the group contacts feature. The question is if they can select users from names.nsf to add to groups.
Sorry, say that again, Annalyn. Can
Yep.
they?
Can we select users from names.nsf to add to groups?
Can you? Well, you don't have a names.nsf in Verse, so you can't do that because your names.nsf isn't available in your browser in Verse. However, the way that it works is that you have contacts in your mail file. There is a hidden view, and there is a way of synchronizing your names.nsf contacts into your mail file, so you can make sure that those are available inside Verse. At the moment, the way that you add people to the group is you put their email address in. The address picker hasn't been added yet, but it is one of the future enhancements that we're going to put in for contacts groups. It's one of the things that we're planning on doing next.
All right, cool. And then there are a couple of questions pertaining to the huddle boards. One of the questions is, are we supposed to see a huddle board at this time in Verse?
I don't really know how to answer that. That's a bit vague. So are we supposed to see a huddle board? What happens is when you click on create a card from this mail, it then launches the Hadoop boards interface. Yes, it was only a screenshot in the presentation, and it was only a screenshot of the Verse side of things. I didn't want to try and explain the whole of Hadoop boards in the presentation. So hopefully that answers your question.
And then another question to follow up on that. on that is if the Verse API, if it will allow the Huddlebirds to get access to the mail attachments too.
I don't know is the honest answer to that. What we'll have to do is go and check with the dev team and answer that in the blog post after the webinar.
All right, cool. And we'll get back to you on that topic. Thank you, Tim. And then, yeah, there are a couple more questions. This one is interesting. I guess some of our attendees in here are also interested to know. But the question was, does Verse replace iNotes and can they coexist on the same server?
Well, yes, they can coexist on the same server. Is Verse a replacement for iNotes? We want you to move to Verse, but I wouldn't suggest that we're not aiming for feature parity with iNotes, because there was a lot of stuff in iNotes that we just won't be able to surface in Verse. So we're not looking for feature parity. What we're doing is giving you a brilliant mail experience in Verse. It's supposed to be new and different. It's not supposed to be feature for feature, one for one. So I would say that yes, we would like you to move to Verse as your web experience for mail. If you don't want to use a client and you just want to use web, then yes, I would urge you to start moving to Verse. If there are things that you absolutely need and you absolutely have to have, then put ideas in the portal and make sure that you include a business justification as to why you want that. So for instance, we do a thing called who, what, why. So it's like who wants it. So as a personal assistant to the MD, for instance, I want access to his mail file from inside Verse because I have to look after his calendar or his emails while he's in meetings. So that's the who, what, why. And if you can put ideas in the ideas portal in that format, that really helps us understand what's the user's persona that wants that feature, what is it they actually need to do, and why is that important. So that's a really big tip as to how to get your idea looked at. And I'm not saying that you have to be in that format, but I'm just saying it makes it a lot easier for us as product managers to take that forward and understand exactly what it is you need and why you need it.
Awesome. Okay. Another question. This is pertaining to the attachment viewer. Can you clarify if the attachment viewer is only available to connection users?
So so there's two ways of doing attachment viewing inside Verse. One is if you've got connections, you can use the connections viewers to view stuff in Verse. So you can do the file previews using connections. Or if you don't have connections, you can now use, if you've got Domino 14, or I believe it might be 1202, but it might be 14. I'll have to check on that. But if you've got a later version of Domino and the latest version of Verse, you'll be able to use the Domino file preview for the Office documents. So you get a choice. I'm not sure if you can connect both at the moment. I'm not sure that that's possible. I think you have to pick one or the other.
Right, and yeah, just to add to that, Tim, that Domino file viewer capability became available starting Domino 1202. So yeah.
Oh, brilliant! Thank you for confirming that. So yeah, 1202 and 14, right?
Mm-hmm. All right. Another question: when will drag and drop of emails from Verse be implemented as EML files?
So we are currently looking at EML as to whether we can do that or not. That's something that's currently in our investigation pile. We are currently working on that. So as to when it's going to happen, don't know. I wouldn't lie to you and say, oh yeah, we're going to have that in 3 months if we're not going to. So I don't know when that's going to happen, but we are currently looking at it.
All right, very well. And then, yep, there are a lot of questions in our chat. Let's pick another one. Okay, are push notifications being evaluated in the future? Today it is polling when a new email arrives.
I don't know that we're going to pick up push notifications because it depends on capabilities of browser and of the operating system that you're in. If you're asking about mobile, then that's a question for you, Annalyn. But if you're asking about the desktop version of it, then I'm not sure we're going to pick up push notifications.
Right, but yeah, we'll clarify that with the asker. There's a feedback from Robert Pacadoro in here. He said his customer was happy. This is pertaining to the idea, or yeah,
Oh
that
yeah,
was
the idea that
implemented.
we shipped. Yep, brilliant.
Yep.
Well done, Roberto, for helping us with a really clear understanding of what it is you wanted and why.
All right, and there was a question in here as well regarding the minimum version of Chrome for verse 3.2.1. I'll have to check
The
our system
latest
requirements.
the latest version of Chrome, if I'm honest. And the reason I say that with a little bit of a giggle is that you can't get support for back versions of Chrome from Google. So if you can't, we can't. So therefore, if there's a problem with a particular version of Chrome, then we would always recommend you go up to the latest version of Chrome, because that's what we will get support for if we take the issue and see it as something between us and Chrome, then we would need to make sure that that also doesn't work in the latest version, because otherwise we won't get help from Google for it.
All right. Thank you for that, Tim. And then, oh, this is an interesting one. Verse and AI, what are the future plans?
Oh, good question. Yes, so we are looking currently as a product management team, and Annalyn will back me up on this. We are currently being tasked by our management of working out where AI fits in all of our products across the whole of HCL Digital Solutions. So we are currently looking at what we can do with AI in Verse. We're currently ideating on that inside the product management team. We haven't taken that to the dev teams just yet, but it is something we are considering about where it fits, what could we do. In the past, we've had things like sentiment analysis using IBM's Watson, if you remember that. And that, is that something we should do again? Should we do sentence autocomplete like they do in other mail systems or in word processing systems? Should we, should we go back to things like, they've had for a long while in word processors where it's like, it looks like you're trying to write an agenda. Here's a template for you to fill out an agenda, right? How far do we take it? What do we do? We're currently investigating what makes sense, and seeing what it is that we can do. One of the interesting things that I've been seeing is there are some organizations out there that are putting out ideas around the auto update of your day. So it will take all of your tasks and schedules and all that kind of stuff that you have in waiting for or in a to-do inside Verse, and it will say, okay, so this is all the stuff you've got due for today. Then, can we auto schedule that into your day around the meetings that you already have scheduled, so that you get time to do as much as possible that's, you said that you want to be completed by today. Is that something we should do, or should we fill up your calendar in your working hours to have a set of stuff that you need to do and plan out your day for you minute by minute? Is that good? Is that bad? Is that something people would use? Do you want to turn it on? Do you want to turn it off? Do you want to give it parameters around how much time it's allowed? Do you want to give it spaces where it can fill in time for you, or do you want to just say have at the whole day? There's a lot of discussion to be had around that. Just that one idea, right? So we're currently working through those ideas about where AI fits in all of our products. It's an interesting time, let's just put it that way, because we've got some really cool ideas, and we just need to work out how we do that.
Yep, thank you very much for that, Tim. And yeah, you're really looking at and planning for, integrating AI in our products. But yeah, there's a couple more questions in here. Let me get back to this. Okay, I've missed this question a while ago, but the question is, can Verse use an ISP email account independently from the Domino server if the latter is down?
No, Verse is tied to your Domino mail file, so I don't believe it can.
All right. And then there's another one about the archiving profile feature. They ask is when this will be available in Verse.
Archiving profile. So we do archiving already, but we don't allow you to change the settings. We allow you to access your archive already. We are planning on, in a future release, it's currently in the backlog, of allowing you to access archives from delegated mail files. So I'm not sure if that answers the question, but I don't know that we don't have on the backlog at the minute that I've seen being able to edit the archive profile inside of Verse. But if that's something that you really want, make sure it's in the ideation portal.
Mm-hmm. And then there is also a licensing question. Are there any plans about releasing a standalone Verse license with a different pricing, not relying on a subscription of CCP?
I'm not aware of any plans of coming up with a standalone Verse license, because Verse is a web experience. It's not separately licensed currently. You have to have a Domino license for that. So I don't know of any plans to create a Verse only mail license. Above and beyond what we already have, we do have messaging licensing, but I don't know. I mean, you'd need to speak to your salesperson for that. I'm not a salesperson. I'm a product manager.
All right, thank you so much, Tim. And I think we have covered all of the questions in here, but we apologize if we missed anything or anyone. But yeah, we still have time, so if you have other questions, comments, or feedback, feel free to post them over the chat. And yeah, we still have time to address it.
Okay, I see one here from David Morton about enabling the advanced tab for image properties. Yeah, absolutely, David. We'll take a look at that and make sure that we run through and see if that's possible, because with the CK editor, sorry, TinyMCE, now that we're using, that shouldn't be too hard to turn on. It's just a case of, does it affect anything else? And we need to go through the proper tests to make sure it doesn't break anything. But that's a good ask, and good to see that there's already an idea for that. So thank you.
All right. I think that's it, Tim. I think we've covered all of the questions.
Fabulous. Well done, everyone. Thank you for all your questions. They were really, really good. I know we didn't get to all of them, but we will get to all of them in the follow-up blog post where we get the questions sent, and we go through with the dev team and product management, and we go through and answer all the questions, consolidate all the answers so they won't have duplicates, and then send them out via a blog post. So you should be able to see that soon. And I know that Dan, our amazing marketing guy, will be posting the replay of this to YouTube very, very shortly, so that you can go back and listen again if you need to, or share it with others. Thanks for your time today. Thanks for joining us. As always, look forward to seeing you soon, hopefully at a user group in your region, or 2 or 3, depending on where you are. Hopefully we'll get to see you. Hopefully you'll get to see one of our next webinars. And I'll just leave you with the thanks for being our customers, and we'll speak to you soon.